talk about 5 tips to travel in London with your children. It's really hard to find good information about traveling in London when you have young children. Continue watching this video if these tips will help you out. They're specifically geared toward London. However, if you're traveling in any large city, it's definitely things to look into. So tip number 1 is that children under 11 travel free on buses, trams, tubes, DLR, London Overground, the TfL Rail, and some of the National Rail services with an adult. National Rail includes the popular route for visitors that goes between Euston and Watford Junction. So for the Harry Potter studio tour, of course, use the manned gates or the ones for luggage, the wheelchair ones. The others close really fast. So you cannot get both of you through unless you're carrying the child, and even then, that's pretty difficult. The gate attendant was not happy with us a few times because we either didn't see the wheelchair or the large gate, or we didn't realize that the first time that we tried to get our youngest through the gate in one go. Tip number 2. Pick up an adult Oyster Card at the visitor center. There's one in Heathrow, there's one in Gatwick, they're in downtown London as well. If your child is 12 to 16, because you can load it with a young visitor discount. So they get a daily cap of half of the adult fare. It can be refunded if there's any money left when you leave. We had planned out kind of what we expected to spend throughout the day on the tube and loaded that much. We did have to add a couple of pounds toward the end of our trip, but we didn't end up having to get a refund on our oldest Oyster Card. Tip number 3. Look for ATMs that have no fees for cash withdrawals. For example, we used HBSC while in London, so carrying cash or having to worry about making exchanges is way too much for me when we have the kids. It adds additional stress, etc. So it's just easiest to go to an ATM and pull it out of our checking account. We also get refunded from our US bank account for all foreign ATM fees as long as we have 12 transactions a month. So win-win, we paid no ATM fees whatsoever, and it was much, much cheaper than the money exchange. Tip number 4. Instead of a city bus tour to see the sights, you can take some of the normal bus routes and sit at the top toward the front and have a great view. A good one to consider is Bus 11 from St. Paul's Cathedral to Westminster. You'll be able to see Millennium Bridge, the Ye Old Cheshire Cheese Pub, the Tipperary, which is London's oldest Irish pub, the Royal Court of Justice, the Australia House, which was used as Gringotts Wizarding Bank from the outside, Trafalgar Square, the Admiralty Arch Banqueting House. You'll see Parliament Square with the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben, Westminster Abbey, and the Supreme Court. Tip number 5. Be street smart. Hold hands with your children and look both ways when crossing the street. Remember, traffic comes from the other direction. Use the crosswalks. Do not jaywalk. The taxi drivers fly in London, well, when they're not stopped. Public transportation is wonderful, and we used it with the kids with absolutely no issue at all. I was a little concerned with the tube station and our youngest child, but we had a conversation to mind the gap, which means don't fall off the edge, stay behind the yellow line, and jump onto the train.
I'll buy that for $1.
Hopefully, these tips will help you travel successfully with children in London. Please remember that your adventure is right around the corner.